I wanted to tap into kind of switching gears slightly, but I saw you make a post today in regards to how your friends perhaps weren't there for you in regards to your grief. I think that's an important conversation because the support group people have are vary up and down, and the way people react to grief. There's always that conversation of how does the griever handle the grief and, the close family who lost someone. But then there is a whole ripple effect of the people around you that are kind of brought into the situation indirectly or directly. And, there's can be resentment. It can be incredibly powerful how your support group responds. But what was your experience with your friends and how you're saying that they kind of quote unquote ditched you during your grief?
So we share lots of stories. Actually, I didn't write that. It was one of our other members who wrote that, but it's something that, I've experienced and comes up a lot. It was interesting. So as I said, I'm what I'd say culturally Jewish. I'm not necessarily religious, but we have a process where we sit Shiva, which is basically after someone dies for a few days, up to a week afterwards, everyone comes around in the evenings to the person who's died's house, and you have to, the custom is you go up to the person, like the immediate family, and you wish them long life, which I always thought was quite funny when I zoom out. But I think it's a really good process because it forces you or the friends to come and show up physically, to acknowledge and that someone has died and actually say it directly by saying I wish you long life, or I'm here for you. You're having to communicate about the fact that someone's died, and it lasts for a few days. So it's not just kind of you do it once and it's you say it once and it's gone. People kind of continually show up for a few days. And I think that that's quite a good blueprint as a wider thing for how ideally friends and family would deal with a death, which is that they acknowledge it, they communicate to you that they know it's happened and they are there for you and show up and continue to show up. And that's kind of, in an ideal world, that's how people would behave, and not just for a couple of months, but years down the line. But it doesn't happen like that, as I'm sure you know as well. And I think we talk about this all the time. It's probably the thing we talk about most on the Untangle app is the fact that just friends just say nothing, or they say things that are like, "Oh, are you better now?" As if it's kind of it's something that you suddenly get over, or they just. I think people are really awkward about talking about death. I know that I was, for sure, and I still am. I mean, even after doing this work, I still sometimes think, oh no, I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I hope that wasn't thoughtless, and I think, and people are scared. That I think, and they also think, I think a lot of people think that they talk about death, they're either reminding you that the person's died, which is ridiculous, because if they're thinking about it, you're going to be thinking about it probably, or if you're not in that moment, you probably did 10, 20 minutes ago. It's not like it just disappears. Yeah. Or that they're going to remind you that, and upset you. And actually, I think it's a real shame. So, one of the big things I really want to do with Untangle is just break that taboo around death and grief and get people talking about it, that people that aren't in the grief space, but friends and family, in the same way that if someone got married, you would ask them about that and ask them how it was, and why don't we talk about these life events and acknowledge them and ask questions about them? So, and I found, for me, I think both with my grandpa, with my sister, people ask about how I am, but it's I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a downer. They just don't want to talk about it, and it feels really isolating, and it kind of feels quite invalidating. Like I shouldn't still be thinking about this or talking about this. And that's why I really want, to get people actually literate and talking about death and feeling confident to talk about it, and recognizing that it doesn't have to be always be a sad thing either. We can celebrate these people. We can talk about their stories, and it's actually so lovely. Like last night we had a support group, and at the end everyone shared and described their loved ones who died. And it was just so beautiful hearing about all these amazing people that, yeah, they're no longer with us, but their stories, their memories, their personalities can still live on, and like we can laugh about them. And it's just so heartwarming. So I've said loads of things in that, but basically I just think it's a real shame that people don't talk about death and grief, and it's a missed opportunity.
I couldn't agree more.